On our broadcast tonight, danger zone for the U.S. economy as this deadlock in Washington now threatens to pull it down. There are questions about the U.S. credit rating with just over a day to go now until the deadline. Outrage over the events that led a young girl to take her own life and who the local sheriff is blaming for her suicide. Tonight, a wake-up call for all parents. Act of bravery, caught in an ambush, captured on camera, an American hero who led his team through great danger has tonight received the highest military honor in the land. And making a difference, the great story of a coach who's teaching kids what teamwork really means. Nightly News begins now.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams.
Good evening. This was to be expected as the hour nears, but a major credit agency has put the credit rating of the United States of America on a negative ratings watch. Just last night, we came on the air reporting that hopes were high for a deal. Things were moving. That collapsed today in a pile of noise and hurt feelings in Washington. The government has been shut down for 15 days. The debt ceiling deadline is just over 24 hours away now. The world is watching, and the financial markets are clearly watching, and profiles in courage are in short supply tonight in Washington. We have it all covered, beginning again tonight with the sorry state of affairs in Congress. Kelly O'Donnell has spent yet another day covering it all. Kelly, good evening.
Good evening, Brian. Confusion and paralysis are all I can say for sure right now. The House had planned to vote tonight on a bill to reopen the government and prevent that default, and then abruptly scrapped that after Tea Party conservatives told Speaker Boehner they would not go along. Tonight, GOP aides say no decision on next steps, and senators tell me they don't know how this ends. How did we go from this just last night
I'm very optimistic,
to this today?
and it's nothing more than a blatant attack on bipartisanship.
Hopes deteriorated quickly for a Senate plan to reopen government and prevent a default on the country's good credit when House Republicans rejected a bipartisan Senate compromise. Mr. Speaker, can you guarantee to the American people Congress will not go past the deadline and push us into default?
Listen, I have made clear for months and months that the idea of default is wrong, and we shouldn't get anywhere close to it.
But time is running out fast, and the mood is so sour that clergy sang hymns as they roamed from one lawmaker's office to another, praying for a solution. Behind these closed doors, here in the basement of the Capitol, the GOP held its team meeting. And that's when Speaker Boehner found out he didn't have enough Republicans ready to make a deal. Tea Party conservatives would not back down, demanding changes to Obamacare.
Oh my gosh, we've lit up Obamacare for the whole nation. Look, the rollout was atrocious. This is a fundamentally flawed plan, and we have made it crystal clear to the American public that we stand with them on Obamacare.
Democrats huddled at the White House late today.
Make no mistake, the bill the Republicans are putting on the floor today is a decision to default.
Why the urgency? Congress set the limit, known as the debt ceiling, for how much the government can borrow. The current limit is $16.7 trillion. Like ordinary Americans do with their household accounts, the Treasury Department can move money around to keep paying bills even after it reaches the limit. But the government loses the flexibility to do that at midnight tomorrow night. And if Congress fails to raise the ceiling by then, the country faces default. NBC News got an exclusive look at senators from both parties meeting quietly tonight looking for compromise. And John McCain begged Democrats to stop bashing Speaker Boehner for the sake of getting a deal.
So let's stop this. Let's stop it. Sit down, consider the Speaker's proposal.
But at this point, the GOP leadership doesn't have a proposal on the table. The president has been mostly watching from the sidelines, calling the GOP strategy a bad strategy. And senior administration officials say we are now at great risk of falling into that financial peril as we get closer to potential default. Brian?
Oh, running out of things to say and ways to describe it. Kelly O'Donnell from the Hill tonight starting us off. Thanks. We are seeing now the crisis in Washington play out on Wall Street. Stocks took a hit today. All three major indexes were down. And as we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, we're getting the first signs of serious concern In the credit ratings markets, the Fitch Ratings Agency has put the United States' current AAA rating on warning for a possible downgrade if, of course, this doesn't get resolved. To talk about that, with us here in the studio tonight, Andrew Ross Sorkin of CNBC and the New York Times. Andrew, the public is now aware they're playing with fire and they're playing with company money, our money. What happens if this happens?
If this happens, the 2008 financial crisis will look like child's play if we actually go into extra innings. If we default, or even if we really get close to the possibility of default, all of our costs are going to skyrocket. People are going to no longer believe that we are good for the money, which means that if someone's going to loan you $1 and they don't think you're going to pay back when you think they're going to get paid back, they're going to charge you more for that risk. And that's going to impact everything. It's going to impact how much money the country has. A 1 percentage point increase is $120 billion cost annually. That's money that's no longer going to go towards goods and services for the taxpayers. It's going to go towards interest payments. Your mortgage payment will go up. That's what we're talking about here, and it will be global.
On that note, I guess we'll be checking back in with you tomorrow night. You think this is ninth inning?
I think we're in the ninth inning, and I'm hoping we don't go into extra innings, and I think it's possible that we don't.
All right. Andrew Ross Sorkin, CNBC, The New York Times. Thank you, as always. Because of these clashing extremes in Washington right now, it is easy to believe this same political divide exists in cities and towns and neighborhoods all across our country and might just define our country and our politics these days. But NBC News and Esquire magazine have partnered on a new survey of our current political landscape that suggests we are not exactly that. And in fact, according to the data, we are still a nation with a wide political center. In fact, our report on that tonight from our chief White House correspondent and political director, Chuck Todd.
Go to any neighborhood in the country and you'll find what we found in our new survey. Americans are a lot more pragmatic and nuanced in their political views than Washington politicians give them credit for.
You've been conditioned to look at American politics in 2D, blue and red, left and right. But that's not what you are. A new NBC News Esquire survey finds we all could use a pair of 3D glasses because there's a growing political center that doesn't comfortably fit into the forced political stereotypes of the past. In fact, a majority of the country, 51%, actually falls in the middle lane of American politics. The hard left lane is just 21%, and the hard right lane is only slightly bigger at 28%.
What's happening in Washington is there's polarization. That's not necessarily what's happening in the country.
The center is as diverse as the country and basically fall into 4 categories. The minivan moderates are in the suburbs. The pickup populists largely live in rural America. The MBA business-centric middle live on the coast, while the most cynical and sometimes apathetic group, dubbed the whatever man centrists, are largely under 40. Emily Robles in Miami, an international businesswoman, is a lot like the MBA middle.
I don't think I fit into a box.
She is with the 53% who favor gay marriage, but she's also part of the 57% who think it's time to end affirmative action.
You should get hired or you should get accepted into college on your merit and not on your heritage or the color of your skin.
Culturally, this is a live and let live group. For instance, 52% are okay with legalizing marijuana, but 79% believe government is spending too much money. Minivan moderate Jamie Naughton of Charlottesville, Virginia, a mother of 3, sums up the New American Center's attitude toward both major parties.
I've just come to expect that I don't fit. I don't fit in either party. So I've almost become comfortable in the middle.
You know, Brian, we asked a couple of major political consultants, David Axelrod for the Democrats, Mike Murphy for the Republicans, to analyze the data. Here's what Mike Murphy came away with. He said, you know what this center says? Dogma is out, pragmatism is in, and guess what? All of Congress should be listening to that. By the way, folks can take the quiz themselves, find out where they fall, NBCNightlyNews.com. Use the hashtag Where I Stand.
I love hearing these boxes that these pollsters insist on putting us in, however.
Oh, but we at least have more this time.
Yeah, that's true. Chuck Todd, thank you, as always. Yeah. One of those issues we just heard about was in the news today, specifically ending affirmative action. Today, the U.S. Supreme Court agreed to answer the question, can voters in any given state vote to ban the practice? Our justice correspondent, Pete Williams, with us tonight from outside the court. Pete, good evening.
Brian, good evening. The Supreme Court has ruled before that colleges can choose to use affirmative action. Now it seems prepared to rule that voters in a state have the power to ban it. Demonstrators outside the court urged it to uphold a ruling that struck down a constitutional amendment passed by Michigan voters in 2006, ending affirmative action in the state. Justice Sonia Sotomayor attacked it today, saying one of its sponsors claimed it would bring back segregation. She said it appears to have done just that. But Chief Justice John Roberts asked, why can't a state say to its colleges, do everything you can to have diversity without racial preferences? Judging from today's argument, the court seems headed for a ruling that would allow affirmative action bans in Michigan and 7 other states to stand. Brian?
Pete Williams at the court for us tonight. Pete, thanks. It was an emotional afternoon at the White House as a former Army captain became the 79th living recipient of the Medal of Honor, this nation's highest military honor. U.S. Army Captain William Swenson was honored for his heroism and his complete disregard for his own safety during one of the deadliest firefights in the war in Afghanistan. Some of it was captured on camera. President Obama said Swenson is an example of what Americans can be at their very best. We get our report tonight from our Pentagon correspondent, Jim Miklaszewski.
September 2009. A medevac helicopter on a casualty run at Ganjgal in eastern Afghanistan. Army Captain Will Swenson guides the chopper to a landing in one of the worst battles of the war.
That was a horrible day.
Swenson and his men walked into a deadly ambush.
If you tried to get up and move, you could expect to have bullets licking at your feet.
Swenson led his troops as they repeatedly plunged into the kill zone to rescue the wounded and search for the missing. 3 Marines and a Navy corpsman.
You can never allow a service member to be taken hostage, alive or dead. You bring them home. And that's what we did.
Swenson desperately radioed for help, but Army commanders refused to provide combat helicopters or reinforcements. An Army investigation later found those commanders were negligent, leading directly to the loss of life. The 4 missing Americans were later found dead.
You could very clearly see that they had been putting up one hell of a fight.
Swenson bitterly blames their deaths on tougher rules of engagement intended to protect Afghan civilians, not soldiers. But that day also saw a remarkable moment of compassion. A helmet cam captures Sergeant First Class Kenneth Westbrook being helped by Swenson to the medevac helicopter. In a flash, Swenson gives Westbrook a kiss.
You're in the middle of a war, and you kiss your fellow soldier. Why?
I wanted to make it clear to him, you've done good. You're going home.
It sounds like you were surprised to see you do that.
Yes. But he was my soldier.
But you're glad you did it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Westbrook died a month later. Discouraged, Swenson quit the Army 2 years ago, but he's now working to return to active duty and the Brotherhood of Soldiers. Jim Miklaszewski, NBC News, the Pentagon.
We also wanted to show you another photo of another heroic American service member that's getting a lot of circulation and comment on the web. It is a photo of Army Ranger Josh Hargis, wounded last week in the attack in Afghanistan that killed 4 members of his unit. He's being awarded the Purple Heart in the hospital in this photo, a ceremony his commander thought he was unconscious for until he started to raise his hand in a salute. He struggled to raise his arm with his doctors and his tubing, but he succeeded. The commander sent this picture along with a letter to Hargis's wife, Taylor, saying grown men wept in that room at this site, adding it was the most beautiful salute he had ever witnessed. Still ahead for us tonight, shock and sadness after the death of a 12-year-old girl. An outraged local sheriff issues a warning to parents across the country. And later, a coach who is making a difference on and off the field by making some extraordinary kids a part of the team. We are back tonight with a story that is intended as a wake-up call to all families with children, especially their parents. Tonight in Florida, a local sheriff is lashing out at 2 middle school girls who are accused in the latest case of cyberbullying in this country. This one ended in a suicide. The victim, a 12-year-old girl who simply reached her limit. Our report tonight from NBC's Rahima Ellis.
Florida police say 12-year-old Rebecca Sedgwick couldn't take it anymore. After nearly a year of ugly online taunts and harassing messages, including drink bleach and die. Last month, Rebecca killed herself, jumping from the top of an abandoned cement plant.
We've lost sleep over that child dying needlessly. And we want to see things change.
Today, a stunning development.
We have these wonderful photographs of our two new felons.
Showing their faces, they're only 12 and 14 years old, charged as juveniles with felony aggravated stalking in connection with Rebecca's suicide.
She should be here. She should be here to see justice getting served.
Rebecca's mother says after both school and police officials failed to stop the bullying, she moved her daughter to another school. But Rebecca still had her cell phone, and the bullying continued.
With cyberbullying is that it is etched in stone, that people can access the history of it, can review it, can rewind it, can reread it, and it makes it much more painful for the child to actually, who is experiencing bullying.
Legal experts believe this is the first time a person as young as 12 has been charged in such a case, and that could pose a challenge for prosecutors.
This defendant is, by all intents and purposes, a child. This is someone who may not at this age understand the significance of that sort of cruelty.
Tonight, a father of 9 children, a stern warning to parents.
Watch what your children do online. Pay attention. Quit being their best friend and be their best parent. That's important.
Tonight, as the community tries to heal, the investigation into Rebecca Sedgwick's death continues. Rahima Ellis, NBC New York.
Back in a moment with more news. Also tonight's badly needed Making a Difference report. You may not know his name, but he's the man to thank for all things gummy. He's the reason it's tougher to get our kids out of those candy stores that charge by the pound. Hans Riegel has died. He put the German candy maker Haribo on the map and introduced the world to the gummy bear. He built his dad's company out of the wreckage of the Second World War and grew it into a global success. Hans Riegel was 90 years old. A big move in the corporate world. Apple has hired away the CEO of Burberry. Angela Ahrendts is joining the company as a senior executive in charge of their product marketing and expansion plans and things like Apple stores. She has received widespread praise for the turnaround job she's done with the Burberry brand. She's a native of Indiana who came up through Liz Claiborne and Donna Karan. And based on what she did for Burberry, already the wags on the web are wondering if an iPlaid could be far behind. And big news in the TV business, especially if you're among the millions who regard these two women as contemporary giants in the world of comedy. Amy Poehler and Tina Fey have agreed to host the next 2 Golden Globe Awards. Both women started in the improv trenches. Both were stars at SNL, and they proved a killer combo the last time they hosted. Another attempt to end childhood as we know it. An elementary school in Nashua, New Hampshire has banned playing tag on the playground at recess. The principal put an end to it because there have been injuries. Several parents protested that it was too excessive. One of them said, quote, "Our kids should be wrapped in bubble wrap and sent to school." When we come back after a break, a special man who's making a difference because of what he teaches about winning and losing. Finally tonight, and as promised, our Making a Difference report. It's about a high school athletic coach in Georgia with his own ideas about who should make the team. We get his story tonight from NBC's Gabe Gutierrez.
On this field, the highlight came before kickoff.
And my heart is distraught because, you know, we don't get the opportunity to see our children like everybody else does. Oh, God, I can't believe I'm crying.
To understand why these parents are crying and their kids are smiling, you need to meet Coach Scott Hamilton.
I want to know that I made an impact on people.
Coach Hamilton works at Paulding County High School near Atlanta.
Hey, Levi.
2 years ago, he decided to pick at least one player of the day for every home game, each of them with special needs.
What do you think this does for these kids?
It just gives them a chance to be part of something they can't be normally.
This time, he surprised two, Austin Beal and Levi Bishop.
How much you like Coach over here?
Yeah, I like him because
He's good to me and the players.
They get to wear a jersey to the pep rally, to the workout, to the pregame bus, just like the other players.
Trying to show these boys how to be men. You can be a tough guy and still have a compassionate side.
He's opened these players' eyes.
That's what I was going to say.
To the
Even more
fact.
for our boys, it's for these kids.
Honestly, I don't even think Coach Hamilton realizes
What it does for them.
And us.
Because while Levi and Austin stand on the sidelines, they are now part of a team.
It's really a highlight of my day every day to watch them come out and run through the tunnel. When I die, I don't want to be on my tombstone. There's Scott Hamilton, the football coach. I wanted to say Scott Hamilton, a good man.
For this coach, the scoreboard isn't the only measure of victory. Gabe Gutierrez, NBC News, Dallas, Georgia.
And that's our broadcast on a Tuesday night. Thank you for being here with us. I'm Brian Williams, and we hope to see you right back here tomorrow evening. Good night.